Broadcast the rhythm. Go live, Vegas on the screen, feeling the flow, so pristine. Boom, as the beats align, electric dreams, they intertwine. Neon dreams in the digital stream. Lights flash to the sound, surreal extreme. Feel it. In the heart of Vegas, we're living the scene. Go live, we're all on the beam. Watch it, feel it. On live stream, the pulse, it races 8 pounds. High stakes, wild chases.
Hello and welcome to Star Trekkin' in Vegas. Y'all, I'm Goldie Vegas and my co-host Steven could not be here today. So luckily for me, my friend Anthony flew in from New York last night for the Star Trek convention next weekend. So I said, why don't you come on down to the studio and help me host my podcast? So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This is indeed already a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this convention. And thank you for asking me to come here today.
Yeah. I'm glad you were able to make it. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge our sponsors. Go Live Vegas is one of our main sponsors. Go Live Vegas is the producer of this podcast. And if you are in the Las Vegas area and you need to film a podcast, I highly recommend also Goldsmith Realty Group, where your dreams are golden. I can assist you with real estate anywhere in the galaxy. Just let me know what you're looking for. So anyway, y'all, I was telling these guys we usually start off with just like a check-in with each other. Well, we knew you flew in from New York and you came to my show last night.
Yes, and again, thank you for inviting me to that show. That show was a lot of fun.
Oh, thanks.
And I got to meet more nice people through you,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for. And your band played very well. You sang very well. I would highly recommend it for people to come down and see all of you perform.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, so we are talking about. Jake is on the line. Hello. Oh, he's getting his mail tomorrow. Okay, so since Jake popped up, so we had our first episode in January, and I said, okay, we'll do Trek trivia and give away some Star Trek commemorative plates. And Jake was the one who won trivia, and it took me until last week to mail it. So I was like, and what was weird was like, I went to the post office, and it was like, I had duct tape instead of clear packing tape. So I had to take it home. and then I had to take it back. And he said it only took 7 months. So I went to the post office twice in the same day, and it was like immediately after I left the post office the second time, Jake was like, "Yay!" I guess they like notified him. But anyway, so I have a band, and it's called Goldie Vegas and the Playboys. And last night we played a classic rock show at a place called Voodoo Brewing Company. They are located in the Arts District of Las Vegas. So if you think about where the Strip is and where Fremont Street is, the Arts District is in the middle on Main Street. So there's a lot of neat little shops, and they're trying to turn it into like a brewing district. So there's a lot of breweries down there, and live music. So it was a lot of fun last night. We are I'm launching a new podcast called Las Vegas Punk and Rockabilly. This is kind of part of the community that I'm growing with my monthly show, Las Vegas Punk and Rockabilly, where we play rockabilly and punk music with live music. So we're doing a residency at the Double Down Saloon the last Saturday of every month. So if you're in Vegas and you want to come hear some rockabilly and some punk rock, come on down and see us at the Double Down Saloon. It's a world famous punk rock bar. So anyway, that's just a couple of things that are going on with me. Yeah, is there anything that you want to share? You want to talk about what's going on with, like, have you bought any new Star Trek memorabilia? Have you done any other conventions? Have you been to any Star Trek fan clubs, anything like that?
Not really the fan clubs, Goldie, but I've been to a lot of conventions back home. In fact, for anyone that may not know, Creation Entertainment, who's hosting the convention at the Rio, started out in New York. That was one of their earlier spots, and then they decided to come out here to Vegas.
Nice.
And I would go over there and go to their conventions in New York.
And they have a Star Trek convention in New York?
Yeah, they have. They used to have it over there, and then we hear about their conventions out here. By the time the 40th anniversary of Star Trek came around, and I heard about it was going to happen in Vegas, I said, you know what, I may want to try that out.
Nice.
Sure enough, I got there, and all the big stars were there from the different series, the supporting cast members. It was a lot of fun. It's fun to this day.
Oh, that's cool. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about conventions later on in the show. I also have with us today Charles Parker. He is the ship's counselor for the USS Las Vegas Star Trek fan club. That is the fan club that I belong to. And then I also have Charisse Alexander, who is the Sci-Fi Savage on TikTok. And so we're going to show some of her TikToks and talk a little bit about all the stuff that she's got going on. So anyway, well, welcome, Charisse. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well. So nice to meet Anthony and Charles and Aaron, the producer. Super excited to be here and talk about our love of Star Trek and conventions and some of our favorite episodes. I'm really excited about today's conversation.
Me too. And I told you to pick the episode, so we're going to be talking about some episodes that you really like.
Which was hard, because I have a Star Trek podcast, and one of the things we did when we wrapped it up was we said, okay, actually we did this every season. We were like, this is our top 5, this is our top 3. We could never pick a top 3 or a top 5. So when we wrapped the show, we're like, okay, this is our top 10, which was obviously 20 episodes because we couldn't pick 10. So when you and I spoke, it was like, okay, pick your top 5. So that was still a challenge. But I did pick 5 episodes I really, really love.
Yeah, and so you have a podcast as well. Sorry, what's the name of your podcast?
The podcast is called the TNG Podcast.
The TNG Podcast. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so do y'all talk about Picard too? Do you consider that as part of TNG?
We didn't. We just did the TNG that we grew up with. So we did all 7 seasons. We did an episode by episode review. Sometimes a scene by scene. So it was really, really in depth for the 178 episodes of TNG, plus a couple bonus interview episodes and trivia episodes and stuff like that. We did not go all the way to Picard because, well, when we were recording our podcast, Picard was just now coming out. And I really didn't want spoilers. That was the big reason why we didn't review it at the time, is I just didn't want to have any spoilers for people who hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But also I feel like the tone and direction of and substance of Picard didn't totally align with TNG as well. So it's a little bit of a weird last chapter.
Yeah, it's new stories. Picard, the first, Picard, I've always said this. Like when J.J. Abrams started doing the Star Trek movies, and like I guess it was the second movie that he did with Benedict Cumberbatch. Khan, is there not any like creativity? You guys are just gonna like recycle Khan? And so that's what I like about Picard, is that it's all new stories. Totally new stories.
Yes.
New characters, everything.
I like new stories. I like new characters. I didn't so much love that it seemed to not, like some episodes, and it's everybody has their own opinion, but some episodes just really felt like the writers had not seen TNG, and it was just like, for me as such a super fan, I was like, oh come on, this part doesn't match with this other lore or whatever. But I do appreciate that it was different, that it was new storylines, because it should be new. It should be totally updated. It's a whole different generation and a whole different age. So I'm glad they did it. But and I'm also glad we didn't review it. So that way we just kind of like stayed in our little time warp bubble.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the series finale of Picard kind of brought everything full circle.
I would say all of season 3 was like we could have just had season 7 of TNG, the movies, and then season 3 of Picard. And I feel like those were all really cohesive. But I think season 3 was so cohesive because seasons 1 and 2 were not. And there was a lot of fan feedback about that.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective. Well, let's check in with Anthony. So, Charles, sorry. I was up until 3 o'clock this morning, and I only slept for 5 hours. So I apologize if I don't seem totally with it today. Charles, we were talking to you about, tell us how you became the ship's counselor at the USS Las Vegas.
Okay. Well, it was back when we had the Las Vegas 51s, the baseball team.
Okay.
And
it was like something
they
like that.
had one of the movies, something going on, so they had a Star Trek day with the 51s.
Oh, nice. I don't remember
So I went, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a Star Trek club. Oh, I'll join the Star Trek club.
Do you remember what year that was? Like how long have you been in the club?
6 years.
6 years?
5 or 6 years.
Okay. Wow.
So
It's amazing.
I joined the club, and they said, okay, we need officers. Well, hey, I love photography and such. I'll become a historian. I'll keep up with what the club's doing.
That's cool.
Well, while I was there, you know about the Karen, the Latin of Fun of Karen. I can't think of her last name.
I don't know if it's gossip. I don't think we should talk about it.
No, the Latin of Fun. And it's named after Karen. I can't think of her last name.
Ooh, I don't know.
But
I'm not as active as you.
She passed away, and she was the trivia person.
Oh.
So they passed trivia on over to me, and so I started then doing trivia with the club about a year into it. And Allie, Ty, and a few of us got together at a meeting. It's like, okay, I got so many titles. I need something of trivia, morale, historian. I need maybe a better title fitting what I'm doing. And we kind of thought, it's like, hey, ship's counselor. that works.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
a good
I
idea.
became ship's counselor.
Well, I asked if
And-
I could be. I was like, oh, what position can I be? And they were like, well, I don't know. I was like, well, I'd like to be a yeoman if that's okay. Like yeoman Goldie.
And it's actually interesting because back when I first got there, one of the members was part of a podcast called Trek Talking.
Yeah.
And he wanted to leave the show to go publicize his book.
Oh, okay.
And since I'd called into the show a few times, because it's a live call-in, one of the hosts came up and said, well, hey, you want to join us? Well, sure. And that was 5.5 years ago.
So, yeah, we all have podcasts because we all like to just talk about Star Trek.
And so every Thursday night, I get on, I hit my earbuds, connect to the server, and we talk for 2 hours about
Holy
whatever
cow.
we're doing.
Wow.
Every Thursday, 4:30 to 6:30 Pacific. At 7:30 to 9:30 on the East Coast.
Okay, and then how would somebody tune into your podcast?
They can go to trucktalking.com or find the Truck Talking podcast on Facebook, and you'll find our connections to our server. You'll find the live call-in number, so you can either listen to the podcast later on, or you can call in.
Great. Now, Cherise, how would somebody find your podcast? I found it through TikTok, but not everybody's on TikTok.
Yeah, the TNG podcast is everywhere that podcasts are found. So everywhere, Apple, iTunes, all of that. Also, we're on YouTube. So you can find us pretty much everywhere.
Great. Cool. Are you a member of a Star Trek fan club?
I am. I am not as involved as you lovely people. I'm part of the USS Artesia, which is a ship kind of down in Orange County.
I think Charles knows somebody in that club.
Oh, what a
That's
small world.
that's the fleet, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Meaning that
I
there's
know
a lot of ships. Yeah.
One of our, a couple of our ships in town are part of the fleet also.
Yeah. So I haven't done a ton with them, but every time they have activities, it always looks super fun. One of the things I did do with them was during lockdown. They had a paint and sip party, where you just like watch a YouTube video of painting, and we all painted together, and we painted Northern Lights, and it was awful. My painting was awful, but it was so much fun that they totally got me hooked on painting. You can see a few behind me here. This whole wall back here is painting, and it all started.
I thought it was like a green screen thing.
Oh gosh, if it was green screen, I'd be in like a spaceship. But
oh yeah,
I would make it a spaceship, but oh well. Yeah, but this all came from the Star Trek fan club, where they were that one instance where I was like, this is so fun, and I never thought of just turning on YouTube and like painting along with the people painting. So yeah, and that's not like a Star Trek related thing we did, but it's just a really cool community.
Yeah, I had a lot of I used to be very, very active in the club that Charles is in, and now I haven't really been that active, but I'm trying to get more involved. But when I was an active member and did every single thing that they did, like I just signed up for everything, I had some cool experiences. There was a Julian's auction at Planet Hollywood that they were auctioning off a bunch of the Roddenberry's home decor. You weren't here for that, were you? That was 2010. But it was interesting. It had like Gene Roddenberry's desk that was in his home, and like their bedroom set. I don't know if, I can't remember exactly why it was all being auctioned off, but it was very interesting, and I met some celebrities and stuff. It was fun. I saw some of Majel Barrett's Loxana Troy costumes.
Oh, I bet those were amazing.
Yeah, the burgundy one with the big ruffle.
Yes.
That was on display for auction. What's Jake saying? Oh, never mind. Okay. I thought that popped up already. But yeah, when I first moved to town, I went to school. I went to Le Cordon Bleu. And when I graduated, I wanted to make friends, so I joined Star Trek Fan Club, and it opened a whole new friend group for me. What does he say? Hey, STE's second famous bartender, Jeffrey, is watching. Oh, Jeffrey Gunter. Is he on here? I don't know if that's who he's talking about. So yeah, Cherise, have you ever heard of Star Trek The Experience?
I have heard of Star Trek: The Experience. I think I went. When did that experience no longer experience? When did that dissolve?
It closed September of 2008.
Okay, so I think I found out about it in like 2012. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. This is so fun. I have to do this. And I Googled it, and it was like, oh, you can't even look at like the ghost of this experience.
No, girl. It's like a timeshare sales floor now.
How was it amazing though?
Huh?
How was it? Was it amazing?
Yes. It was insane. People moved to Las Vegas just so they could live here and go to Star Trek The Experience. I know a lot of people who did that. It was very immersive, and there's a bar. Like last time Quarks, they had a Quarks bar.
Yes, that was good.
Yeah, like you go, like they had the
was it a museum?
the History Museum of the Future.
Okay.
And then it was like so there was a museum, and there was a bar and a gift shop and virtual reality rides. There was like the Klingon encounter.
The promenade from Deep Space Nine was in there.
Yeah.
Was it like
Deep
something
Space
you
Nine
walk through,
themed?
like with a small group, you kind of walk through it?
Yeah, so like
or-
you would be in a small group, and then you'd go into the transporter room, and then the lights would go off or something, and then you'd be on like the ship. They'd be like, we're transporting to the ship. So you get on the transporter, and then all of a sudden, like basically they turn the lights off and the wall rotates, and now you're on the bridge of the ship or something.
I would have died.
And so there's
I would have died
and
of
so
just joy and excitement. You would have to revive
yeah,
me right there on the
I get
transporter
chills
floor.
talking about it. It was so much fun. So like you'd be in that thing, and like there would be like a Starfleet officer doing something on a panel, and then you'd turn and look the other way, and down the corridor there was like Borg drones coming at you, and you like had to like go to a shuttlecraft to escape the Borg, and then there was a virtual reality ride.
They had a story where timeline got changed. What a surprise for Star Trek, right? Anyway, Captain Picard does not exist at this moment when you're on the bridge. And the officer on the bridge is talking to Commander Riker on the ship view screen. And Riker explains to you what happened to their captain. And he does a head gesture towards his captain's chair. But one of you in your party is an ancestor to him. You came here in our timeline. Now our captain no longer exists. We got to do something about that.
I remember that.
So they put you in the ship, like you said, and you're battling other spaceships, if I remember correctly. And finally, the timeline restores itself, and you hear Picard's voice saying thank you to all of you. It was great.
Yeah, that
Why
was
they
cool.
take that down?
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Why can't we
The
have it again?
timeshare office
Yeah,
was more
years ago.
important.
Why can't
was
someone
reading
make
some
that
of the
again somewhere?
Will
Somewhere else?
Wheaton's.
I know, right?
I was reading some of Will Wheaton's biography,
Yeah.
revised. He talked about walking aboard that ship up the chair and just feeling like he was back on the set again.
Yeah, so they would perform weddings on the bridge of the Enterprise. So you could have a Klingon marry you, or whoever you wanted, I guess. I don't know.
Only in Vegas. Maybe that's why.
Yep.
Well, y'all have Disneyland with all the Star Wars stuff. I was there recently.
And it's
And that was,
amazing.
oh my gosh,
Amazing.
yes.
Yes.
So cool. You really feel like you're on Tatooine or whatever it's supposed to be.
100%.
I heard
Yeah.
about that. I didn't get a chance to see it.
It's very cool. And then they've got a huge Millennium Falcon.
Yes.
Yep.
And then the ride is a lot of fun.
Both of
It's a
them.
lot of fun. We only did one of them when I was there.
There's a
Have you,
right,
Charisse,
one
have you
of
been
them's really-
to, what's that place, Scum and Villainy? Have you been to that place?
I don't
There's
know
a
what-
bar.
The bar in Star Wars Land?
No, I thought there was a bar in LA somewhere that was called Scum and Villainy.
There might be. I haven't heard of it, but now I want to check it
Oh,
out.
what? Okay, girl. Well, we're going to have to go when I come to town. Okay, Jake says, I still get misty-eyed when the Enterprise destroys the bird of prey over the Vegas Strip. That was
You
part
can
of the
see the
virtual
biggest
reality.
strip also in
No,
the
well, it's-
experience? Is it virtual?
Well, it's part of the virtual, yeah, it's part
Yeah.
of the virtual reality. Because you're at Las Vegas Station or something like that.
Oh,
Right.
see.
I think the Klingons wanted to stop the existence of Captain Picard, and it was up to you to save the day kind of thing.
That's super cool. And then you could just hang out in the bar? Or would your party have to, like, you can get a drink and then go to the gift shop? And then
Yeah, actually, so the most popular drink was the Warp Core Breach, and it was very, very
Sweet?
very strong. It was like a fishbowl. And Jake chimed in here a minute ago and was like, I want a Warp Core. But I think I have the Quarks menu, like recipe book at my house. So like the first meeting that I went to at the USS Las Vegas, their guests were all these actors from Star Trek The Experience. Actually, the captain, Paul Walker, worked at Star Trek The
Both of them.
Well, he was the captain back then. Now he's the admiral.
Yes.
yeah, so I met all the actors from Star Trek: The Experience, and we all became friends, and they all had, memorabilia, and people were dumpster diving trying to get stuff that they were throwing out, and there's Star Trek: The Experience had a casino attached called the Space Quest Casino. And we used to hang out in the Space Quest Casino a lot because the Star Trek: The Experience was closed, but it was just a wall. And so we just sit at the bar drinking, staring at the wall. So depressing.
I remember occasion of a couple of times going to a convention, the convention center, not having time to go to the experience, but going over to Cork's to have dinner because we were hungry, so we get something to eat.
Yeah, what better place than Star Trek: The Experience?
Exactly.
The first time I went, it was 2005, maybe spring 2006. And I was in town with my friend Stacy, and I was like, hey girl, do you mind? There's like this Star Trek thing I wanted to go look at. And she was like, yes, I love Star Trek. So, and we've shown the picture on here before of us drinking a James tea. It was a fishbowl drink, and it was basically a Long Island iced tea with blue curacao. So it was basically an adios called a James tea, and we drank some of those. So anyway, yeah, sure, we can talk about the conventions. This is some cosplay. So I'm the Borg drone, and April and Nicole both worked at Star Trek: The Experience. They're Orions. I think this was 2011, maybe 2012. The concept for the costume that I'm wearing was it's kind of like, the technology. Well, no, it's kind of like my idea was like, well, the technology kind of sprouts from it within. So I wanted to have all those implants all over my body, but we just ran out of time. So I guess I got assimilated at the swimming pool.
It looks amazing. All of your costumes look great.
Yeah, so
April,
much
time body painting. I don't know how you had the patience, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, I was just about to say the Orion in the orange outfit is April Hebert, and she was an actor at Star Trek: The Experience. She played an Andorian, and so I call her my drag mom because she's the one who taught me how to body paint. But like another thing that I love about going to the Star Trek convention is that you meet new people, and this girl, the Cardassian in the middle, that's the only time I ever remember her being at the Star Trek convention, but she showed up and I was like, oh my gosh, you are the most beautiful Cardassian I've ever seen. She was amazing. I couldn't even believe it.
And that's a Bolian next to her, right?
I'm on the left. I'm Captain Janeway. This was so long ago. I was so skinny. Okay, and then, sorry. So Melissa was the other girl in the last photo was Melissa, and she was B'Elanna. So then we were both Andorian, and we bought a ticket to this little like meet and greet thing with Dominic Keating, Connor Trinneer, and William Shatner. And you just kind of like, it was a small group, and we just kind of hung out in that room and chatted up the actors and had cocktails. And Dominic Keating is one of the most fun actors at the convention, in my opinion. He's a lot of fun. Two guys that I also think are a lot of fun are Vaughn Armstrong and Casey Biggs. Casey Biggs played Damar on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Vaughn Armstrong was the Admiral in Star Trek Enterprise. The guy dressed as Lore in the middle, his name is Eric Allen Hall. Charisse, have you ever heard of that guy?
No.
He is a very, very well-known cosplayer at the Star Trek Las Vegas convention, and he does a lot of Data costumes and that kind of stuff. But he is a really great guy from Utah, and I have known him for 14 years. So that's my friend Melissa. Again, we are Ferengi, and she had this idea. She said, I have an idea for some Ferengi females. They're not allowed to wear clothing. What if we just made sensor bars? I'm like, let's do it. So we walked up. So these three actors, they played Ferengi, which is the alien that we're depicting. We walked up to do our photo op, and Aaron Eisenberg was like, Goldie, is that you? Oh my God, you know who I am.
First of all, how did he know who you were? And second, how did he recognize you underneath the Ferengi makeup?
Well, I met him in 2010. We were just hanging out at the Space Quest Casino, and we were like just chatting. And he was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm Aaron Eisenberg. I played Nog on Deep Space Nine." I was like, "I know who you are at a Star Trek convention."
I know exactly who you are.
And then we grew, like a convention friendship, and so we would always hang out at the conventions. And he was always a lot of fun and really nice. That year, I have some fun pictures of me as an Andorian hanging out with him at Ibar in the Rio. I need to dig those out. But the next picture that's coming up is some more cosplay. These are some friends of mine. Of course, that's Harry Mudd and his ladies, and then me and Melissa as Andorian members of the Andorian Imperial Guard. So the cosplay is always just off the charts for this convention. I've seen so many crazy, hello, crazy costumes at the Star Trek convention. We had a whole group that would do Lego characters. They would make them out of cardboard, and they'd just be like hobbling around in cardboard boxes. But it's all just really amazing. And then, so this is Jeffrey Combs. He played Shran in Star Trek Enterprise. And, you're hanging out at the convention,
A lot of other
and
roles.
they're just walking around. All the celebrities, they're just walking around. And so
Yeah,
we were
just
talking
hanging
about
out.
that earlier, Anthony and I. It's cool. So this is Richard Hatch. He was the original Apollo on the 1970s Battlestar Galactica. And he was also
And
like
he was in the
a...
reboot Star Galactica.
huh?
He was also
yeah,
in
they're doing
the reboot
yeah, he was in
Battlestar
both of
Galactica.
them.
He was in both of them, yeah.
But he was always so nice, and we developed a convention friendship, and it was always so much fun to see him. It would be so funny because, like, he would get bored, and he'd start doing, like, push-ups and stuff at that booth.
He's saying hi.
Oh. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. I don't know where I left off. But the picture of me and Tim Russ, that was at that party. His band was playing a blues set. And he was so cool. Look how nice he is. He just has like such a friendly little face. But that was a lot of fun. We were Dabo girls, Melissa and I. You can't tell, but we have like ridges on our nose. So we were walking around all night going, Dabo! So yeah, so many fun memories. And most of those pictures are from 2011.
Sounds like a good year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have the Star Trek convention coming up next weekend here in Las Vegas. We're going to I'm going to be doing a meet and greet at the USS Las Vegas vendor booth from 12 to 2 on Saturday. Then Saturday night we're doing this Trek trivia party nights. You can find that event page on Facebook. If you just type in Trek Trivia Party Night, it should come up. And that's over at Tommy Rocker's. The food over there is really good. It's one of my favorite places to go because it's just so chill, and they have a private room and a beautiful view of the Las Vegas Strip. So we're going to be over there doing Trek Trivia from 7 till 10. Then next year, the Star Trek and in Vegas podcast is going to be producing the Alien Prom, which would be on the Tuesday before the convention. We're going to have a live band, fabulous food. You get to vote for king and queen of the prom, and we'll do some Trek trivia and stuff like that. And then we have another logo. We wanted to share the logo for Charles's podcast, trektalking.com. So there's that if anybody...
In fact, if you see the Vulcan on the right, that's my picture.
Oh, okay.
So are those all the co-hosts? Everyone in that
Those
picture
are all.
is
That's
one of
the host. The Klingon on the back is the host, and the rest of them are all the co-hosts, or we say Trexperts.
So you're the Vulcan.
I'm the Vulcan of the
because I
group.
thought you were the Andorian. Hold on. Where's the? Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Cute. That's great art. Did somebody draw that with their
We
hand?
had somebody who drew that for us.
Oh, that's
Jim,
cool.
Jim sent them pictures, and he actually created that whole thing for us as our new logo.
Wow, that's an amazing logo. So, one of the big things at the Star Trek convention is that you can get your picture taken with your favorite celebrity. So I brought in some of my favorite photo ops that I have. I've got Jeffrey Combs is over here. Remember the guy that was like this? That's my photo op with him. And when he went to autograph it, he said, I'm a pink skin. Because that's what he would call the Terrans on Enterprise. Then another photo that I'm super proud of is I'm dressed like Tasha Yar and the next photo in, and that's the bridge crew of TNG. So it's Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Marina Sirtis, yeah. So it's everybody except for Captain Picard and Tasha Yar. So I thought I'd be Tasha Yar. So then one year I decided I want to be Yeoman Rand, but I wanted to have like a giant beehive. So I have like this blonde Marge Simpson wig right here, and that's Nichelle Nichols. And she was so tickled. She looks like she's about to fall off the stool laughing. And so that's autographed. And then I also have Shatner. I'm Shauna. We showed those pictures before. Leonard Nimoy, I didn't get his autograph because the following year, he retired or something. I think he retired from the conventions before he died, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he retired for a while. And then I've got I think this is my Ferengi one that you saw already. And then I've got Kate Mulgrew on the end with me as Janeway and Melissa as B'Elanna. So when you go to the Star Trek convention, you can get photo ops, autographs. Sometimes people like to get, toys or whatever autographed. And then in the vendor's room, there's lots of stuff to buy, right? So I wanted to bring a couple of things. I don't buy a lot of stuff. I used to a long time ago when I was new to the convention, but I'm just kind of like, I have so much Star Trek stuff that I don't need anymore. But every now and then I'll find something like really cute and kitschy. So I found this Star Trek The Motion Picture Silly Putty. Do you remember Silly Putty?
Mm-hmm.
Did you play with it?
Oh,
I remember right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Was that
Now
a thing for
that's
Charisse?
going
Are you
way
Gen
back.
X? Charisse, are you Gen X? Okay. I think that I've always a very Gen X thing.
Yes.
So I had to have this. My friend was like, "That's stupid. Don't get it." But it was under $10. I was like, "Why wouldn't?" This is from what year did the motion picture come out? 1980.
Was it 79 or 78?
79, I think.
Yeah. And then I found this board game that I still haven't played yet. But, oh, gosh, I will someday. Maybe I'll bring it to the USS Las Vegas. But this is Star Trek the game. Oh, where? Oh.
I was trying to show it. Go lower.
Go lower.
Lower.
Oh. Star Trek game. Look, this thing is old, too.
Want to play the game, Charisse?
Yeah, we're over 8 years old, so I think we can play it.
Yeah, I was
That's right.
I was telling Anthony before, I was like, yeah, I tried to read the instructions, but it seemed really complicated, but it's for 8 and above, so I should be able to figure it out.
I got my nephew, one of my nephews, I got him this Darth Vader helmet for Halloween, like, I don't know, 10 years ago when he was still a little kid. And I think he was maybe like 12 or something. But the cool thing about the helmet is like when you push the button and you talk through it, you sound like Darth Vader. And I was like, how cool is that? So I'm thinking
awesome.
Auntie Award of the Year when I give him this present. And apparently on the box it said like for 8 and up, but he was 12. So it was like the end of the world because his siblings just like died laughing, right? His parents were like, oh my gosh. Exactly, like that sound. So yeah, they were like, so he called me and he goes, Auntie, why would you give me something that says 8 and up? I am way older than 8. And I was like, no, but it's and up.
It's so cool.
It's up. But he was just like, yeah, so he didn't fully appreciate the genius of that gift. because it didn't
Right
say
on.
12
Aw.
and up.
That's okay. My coworkers would always buy me Star Wars stuff for my birthday. I'm like, I finally told them, I was like, y'all know I like Star Trek, and that's different than Star Wars, right?
And
I
they
mean,
were
I
like,
think
"It is?"
Star Wars is cool, but I don't want to mention Star Wars stuff all the time.
And they were like, "It is? Are you sure?" And you're like, I'm sure it's different."
Yeah. So, one of the reasons why I asked you to join us today is because I think your TikToks are so stinking cute.
Oh, thank you.
And we're gonna show one of my favorite TikToks that you have, and it's so accurate. It's so accurate what you say about everything. Like, hold on.
Alexander's life started out rough. When he finally meets his father, he's greeted with confusion. And aren't we all? Anyway, before they can have any kind of good family moments, Kalar is brutally murdered by a Klingon named Duras. Shortly after this, Worf ships Alexander off to Earth, where he can be raised by Worf's adoptive parents, the Rashenkos. A little while after that, Worf's mom comes on board and says, yeah, you gotta take your kid back. Thankfully, Worf does not have to figure out this whole parenthood thing on his own. Most surprisingly, Lwaxana Troi becomes Alexander's biggest advocate and bestest friend. And while the mud bath was a really weird thing for Alexander to be a part of, I will say I love their grandmother-grandson connection. At one point, Alexander's future self comes back in time to try to convince Alexander to become a Klingon warrior instead of a Klingon diplomat. After the tussle and the long timey-wimey explanation is done, Worf finally accepts Alexander, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Do you remember that time when Counselor Troy got impregnated by a ball of light? The next day she realizes she's pregnant, but the fetus is growing so fast that she will give birth to it in a matter of days instead of months. So about 2 days later, she gives birth to Ian Andrew Troy. But there was also a full security detail present because they don't know what's about to pop out of this woman. And Riker's there too, creepily staring at her from the hallway. So about an hour after giving birth, Pulaski and Picard go to visit baby. But surprise, he's now 4 years old. So the next day, Deanna decides to enroll 8-year-old Ian into school. Because why? But a few hours later, Ian realizes that his high radiation emissions are threatening all life on board the ship. So he decides to unalive himself and turn back into a ball of light. But before he goes, he tells Deanna that he just wanted to learn more about people, and he thought that going through the process was the best way. So he floats away, never to be seen or heard from again. What? The Kazon are trying to take over the ship. Computer, self-destruct. The Vidians are boarding and they're taking every organ they can get. Computer, self-destruct. We're being held hostage by unknown aliens doing secret experiments on us. Computer, self-destruct. The replicators are out of coffee. Computer.
The replicators are out of coffee. Self-destruct.
Yeah, that was a popular one. Even for people, because a lot of people couldn't relate to necessarily Life as Janeway, but they could all relate to wanting to self-destruct when there's no coffee.
Destruct sequence completed and engaged.
Oh.
Was that
I
me?
was getting Oh. Is your volume up on your feedback, Charisse?
I'm getting
There's
an
an
echo.
echo.
Hold on.
Inaccurate. Data in error.
No, I was just getting an echo, so I was just curious if maybe she turned the volume up to watch those videos. Well, it's so funny because the one about Alexander, man, I remember being like, I can't believe Worf would just his son comes aboard, he just meets him, his mother gets murdered, and then you're gonna send him to Earth to live with your grandparents that you never met? I always thought that was shady. I was like, okay, Worf's a deadbeat dad. What's up with that?
Well, it's just the Klingon way,
Yeah.
Can't take responsibility for their child. It's not a big
I thought
deal
your
to
house
them.
was everything.
Too young to be in the house.
Oh, we lost your audio.
Oops.
Yeah, we lost Charisse's audio.
How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
And then the weird episode with the son that she gets pregnant. And I love how you're
Yeah.
and Riker's just creepily staring at her.
It's so funny that I remember that scene with Riker creepily staring at her, but when I went to find the footage, he actually is off screen and he comes in I was like, what? It was creepier than I remembered, which was really funny. Yeah, I don't know why Worf was would throw away his kid so easily, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you just met this kid. This is the time to bond. But his immediate thought is, I've got work to do. You know what I mean? And then when Alexander comes back on board, he's just such an inconvenience to Worf's life. And granted, like, yeah, kids can be inconvenient, but you should have thought about that before you were in the holodeck with Kalar. So I'll just tell you, like, this is your responsibility. But the funny thing about that video is, you know, I'm a huge expert on The Next Generation and like a secondary expert on Voyager, but not as big of an expert on all the other series. So I always try to like stay in my wheelhouse. Like, I don't try to talk too much about other series because I might like mess something up. But at the end of season 7, Worf is like, I totally accept Alexander. We're buddies. We're cool. So that's how I ended the video. I got so many comments under that video saying, but he doesn't accept Alexander because then when you go to Deep Space Nine, there's still all this like tension and he's not living there and all this stuff. And that's kind of sad. So I was just like, well, you know, at the end of The Next Generation, all is well. Maybe it didn't.
But you've seen Deep Space Nine before.
I've seen some of Deep Space Nine. I have not finished it yet.
Oh God!
So that's why
Star Trek Deep Space Nine is what turned me into a Trekkie.
You know, I hear that it's the best
I'm a
one.
Trekkie.
Like, people tell me like that is the best one. So that's why I've been trying to watch it and going through it. But there's so much. There's not only so much Trek to watch because I also want to finish Strange New Worlds. I have one more season of Lower Decks left. Like, there's so much Trek that I have not seen that I still want to see. Yes. And then there's all these other shows that I love too, outside of the Star Trek universe. So I feel like there's not enough time to watch all the shows that I want to watch.
Yeah. I've seen every single episode of Star Trek ever made, except for, you said there's a new season of Prodigy on Netflix.
Yes.
I haven't seen season 2 of Prodigy, and I haven't seen the last 20 minutes of the disco finale.
Why haven't you seen the last 20 minutes? Did you fall asleep?
I don't know,
Oh,
girl.
that was
I
the
get
good part.
sidetracked. Huh?
That was the good part.
Oh God, I gotta go finish it. I was gonna tell Steven, I was like, oh, maybe on our next podcast we can start from like the beginning of the timeline and watch everything in timeline order, which is something I attempted to do not too long ago, but like I said, I get distracted. But it's like, you know, I was like, maybe I should total up how many episodes of Star Trek there are and divide it by how many weeks there are in the year and see how many Star Trek episodes I have to watch a week to see the whole thing in a year.
It'd be a lot because there was 178 just of The Next Generation. That's just one show. No.
Maybe we'll just watch 3 episodes a week or a month. I don't know, 1 episode a week.
If you do a timeline order, you realize you have to start with Enterprise.
No, you start with Discovery.
You start with Discovery.
You start with
First
you do the
season-
first 2 seasons of Discovery, then
Strange
New
New
Worlds,
Worlds,
then
Enterprise.
TOS,
Then the
TAS,
Enterprise with
Yeah.
us.
Oh.
TNG.
Oh, no, we missed.
Oh, Enterprise.
No, you gotta do Enterprise.
Enterprise
Yeah.
and
Disco,
TOS,
then
and
Enterprise.
TNG. Yeah. And
Well,
then you have
the
to come
first
back to
2
Disco at
seasons
the
of
end.
Disco.
Well,
Yeah, Disco's like the bookend.
Yes, you have to come back to Disco at the
Yes.
very
but
end.
the Enterprise was 100 years before Kirk.
Okay.
Yes.
So why not watch that first if you do it in timeline order?
Well, because Disco in timeline order is before Enterprise.
It is?
But
No.
then Strange New
No.
Worlds is, isn't it?
No,
I don't know.
you
I
got
had something to
Enterprise
Google.
first, then Discovery.
Something to Google.
Yeah, that's right.
Then
Because
Strange New World,
Enterprise,
then TOS.
Enterprise is when they just got warp drive or whatever. Like that's like the very, very beginning. So yeah, it would have to be Enterprise first, and then Discovery.
I loved it.
And then we have to come back at the end of Discovery. As far as we
I
know.
was bummed that they only got 4 seasons of Enterprise. I feel like
Yeah.
7 seasons is a good run.
They were just getting their feet really wet when they lost their season because they could have gotten a lot of history.
But it was on a weird channel. You had to have
Yes.
an antenna to get it.
It's like they had to rush bypass the rest of the seasons, the potential seasons anyway, and go to where they finally formed the Federation and Archer makes that famous speech.
Well,
Yeah, that was half.
and I make a comment, it's like, and we never hear that speech. We've never
Yeah.
heard that speech. We don't know
That's
what he
weird. We
said.
don't know what he
Well,
said.
you know, sometimes I think that's for the best because it's like when something's hyped up so much, it's hard to live up to the hype. when you're trying to focus on other things with writing a show. You know, costuming, lighting, design, and all the things. So sometimes I'm okay with that when they leave out a big piece, if I know that that piece was probably not going to live up to all the expectations. Now, other times you can tell, like especially in TNG with those big speeches that like Picard would give about, you know, the rights of an android or whatever, you can tell someone had to sit and take a lot of time and attention and effort into that speech to make it powerful and potent and all of that. And it's like the amount of time to write the entire episode, a big chunk probably went into that speech. So I'm okay with it as long as they don't sacrifice the story, like telling a good story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of your favorite episodes. Season 6, episode 18, Starship Mine.
Yeah.
So that's the one where everybody's evacuating or like taking shore leave or whatever so that they could do a baryon sweep.
To clean the ship from the built-up baryon particles.
Yeah, I was like, what's a baryon sweep?
There's some kind of particles that build up from flying around too much, and they need to get rid of them. So they do a baryon sweep through the entire ship. But the baryon sweep, it looks like a scan, but it's toxic to all living tissue. So everybody gets shore leave, and they end up going to some party, some like ambassador
with
party.
Hutchinson. What's
With
his
Hutch,
name?
yes.
Commander Hutch.
Yes.
He's very talkative, and people don't like. It's like one of those people you get stuck with at a party that you're like, oh my gosh, somebody save me right now.
Absolutely. Picard called him a master class in small talk.
Yeah. So what the lead up to that is that they are they're all preparing to leave the ship, and Picard gets on the what's it called? The
Transporter
lift.
pad. Oh.
Why am I having so many problems today? Turbo lift.
Turbo lift.
He gets on the turbo lift, and Data's like, oh, yes, I hear the weather is blah, blah, blah. And Picard's like, why are you talking to me? And Data's like, oh, I'm working on being better at small talk.
Program.
And he's like, you need to hang out with Hutchinson at the party tonight.
Yes, he is a masterclass unto himself, which was so true. I love the scene where the two of them are talking, where Data and Hutch
It's
are
so
going
entertaining.
Back. And everyone's just watching like it's like a train wreck. And they're like, how long can the two of them talk about nothing?
Yeah.
For a long time, right? And they're just like, have you heard of this? Oh, no. But have you heard of this? It's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun to watch. And unfortunately, Hutch gets like blasted with a phaser rifle a few minutes later. And you're like, poor Hutch, what did he ever do to you? He just small talk. You know? You couldn't put it on. I remember me and my co-host were like, why couldn't you have had it on stun? He didn't deserve that just because he was an annoying character, you know? But yeah, they go to the party and everyone hates it. And we were actually also joking. So if you haven't seen that episode, if you haven't seen Starship Mine in a while, definitely recommend watching it. One of my favorites. So good, so exciting, so much fun. Basically, you get to see Picard be MacGyver in space, which is fun. But in this scene, when they're at the party and they're like snacking, there's like this panning shot of the table, and you see the snacks that are on the table. Now, normally, when we see food in 10 forward, it's just like piled up. It just looks amazing, right? Even if it's Klingon food, which is gross, it still looks amazing. But this platter, I don't know what was going on. One was just like a plate of chocolate-covered coffee beans. One was like a plate of marshmallows or something.
Habanero peppers. There's one spot where Geordi is walking around with a plate, and there's 2 Scotch bonnets on his plate, and like a bunch of like little yogurt covered raisins.
Yeah, and you're like, this is the worst reception. I've been to better ones on Earth. What is going on here? But in any case, they're trapped at this party. Picard is climbing the walls, and someone mentions that there's good horseback riding nearby. And he's like, horseback riding? Well, I gotta go back to the ship to get my saddle, because every serious rider has a saddle, which becomes like a ongoing joke in the episode. So when he goes back to the ship to get his saddle, he sees somebody in the corridor doing some kind of work, and he's like, that's weird. The baryon sweep is gonna start in like 10 minutes. Why is there somebody in the corridor? And so he's kind of like looking around, and then he realizes something fishy, something fishy's going on, something's wrong. He stays on the ship because at this point, like,
and the person that he runs into is Tim Russ.
It's Tim Russ, which is so great.
So the actor
Tuvok, but not Tuvok,
who played Tuvok in Star Trek Voyager. Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, you know,
he was also in. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut anybody off. I want to apologize if my timing is bad.
No, please.
No, it's fine.
Tim Russ was also a bridge officer in the Generations movie.
He was.
Yes.
Yeah. So they did.
But he wasn't Vulcan. But they
No.
referenced that though, like he was Vulcan. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
I feel
Oh,
like
they
it's
did?
referenced.
Okay.
Yes.
It's referenced somewhere as if he was himself, as if he was Tuvok.
Yeah, I think
but I
Janeway
can't
says something to
remember
him about like, you've been doing this for how long have we been friends, and you knew way back when. I think she says something about how long he's been in the Federation.
Okay.
Which is so cool because I don't know if you guys have listened to the podcast Delta Flyers, which is hosted by the actors who played Tom and Harry. And they did like an episode by episode review of Voyager. Now they're doing Deep Space Nine, but they're giving like the behind the scenes of not just going through the episodes, but what was going on set, what was going on in their minds, like crazy things that happened, you know, with wardrobe or whatever. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. But one of the things that the actor who plays Tom was saying was that Tim Russ was always giving him pointers about things in the Star Trek universe. And he was like, you know, I thought he was like a real fan or something, but I'm not sure. Maybe he was pulling my leg because I didn't really know any of these things, but he knew all these things. And the actor who plays Harry, Garrett Wang, was like, no, he really is a fan. Like, he's legitimately a fan of Star Trek. He really does know all those things.
So cool.
So I loved knowing that after seeing him, as you guys put it, in the movie, in this episode of TNG, before he actually gets to be like a main cast member in Voyager. I just love that he was he was a fan of Star Trek, and he got to be in Star Trek.
They had a scuffle, and Picard like takes his arm and gives him like a Vulcan neck pinch, and it goes down. I didn't know Picard could do that.
Picard can do anything, at least in this episode.
And he's out for a while. Tim Russ is out. His character's
Well,
out for a
and
while.
I found that on IMDb. The reason they explained that was because his interaction with Sarek. And the mind meld he did with Sarek, that they claim he might have had some of that ability from that mind meld.
all right.
It all makes sense.
But he
I'll buy
couldn't
that.
beat the. He couldn't beat the mad scientist Dr. Tolian Soren. Going back to the Generations movie.
Yeah.
Remember when he kept knocking Picard down and he was falling down the hill?
Yeah.
And it was a good thing he finally got Jim Kirk over there to beat this guy up, because Picard,
Yeah.
he couldn't do it for some reason.
And they shot that scene real close to Las Vegas at Valley of Fire.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can go. So anyway,
Yes.
we're getting off topic now. Back to the episode. So there's some terrorists trying to get trilithium resin out of the Enterprise, and who knows, they're going to use it for like a bomb or something.
Yeah, they're going to use it for some massive arms deal, which you don't
And
find
when
out
they
until
find-
like the last 5 minutes of the episode. So we don't even know what they're after.
Yeah, you don't really know what's going on until it's like it's kind
You
of one of
have-
those episodes where like everything comes together at the end. You're like,
Exactly. You have no idea what's
"Oh."
going on, but you don't even care because it's so exciting to see Picard plant all these Home Alone style booby traps to try to capture the terrorists and evade the terrorists and climb through the Jeffries tube and cause an explosion. And it's so much fun to watch. Like, there's no other episode quite like this one. In the sheer number of activities that Picard gets up to. It's really fun.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when the terrorists find him, and he's like, "I'm Mott, the barber," and they call him Mott the whole time.
Yes. And they're like, you have a lot of skills for a barber. And it's like, the Federation trains us well. You know, it's just like,
Starfleet barbers. Okay, so let's see. The next episode that we were going to talk about, season 6, episode 25, Timescape. So Deanna's having dinner or a conversation with somebody, and there's like a glitch in the Matrix, and everybody freezes, but she's still there and present.
No, they're on the shuttle. They're coming back from the shuttle from a conference.
yeah, they're on the roundabout. They were at
That's
they were at a
right.
scientific conference, and they're sharing stories about the conference. And people keep kind of freezing and unfreezing, and they're like, what is going on right now? And they start scanning for anomalies because they're noticing some glitch in the Matrix. And at one point, Picard reaches to get some fruits, and then he screams in pain, and all his fingernails are really long, and all the fruit's all rotten. And he's like, okay, it's not just people freezing. There's also something going on with aging or something, because the fruit's rotten now. So they discover that there's actually these breaks in time, but the breaks in time are little bubbles. And every bubble is moving at its own speed, at its own rate, which is terrifying. So the ship kind of goes off course because one of the nacelles, one of the kind of engine parts of the ship, was going at a different time from the rest of the ship, and it ran out of fuel, and so they're kind of limping along, and they're like, just get us back to the Enterprise. We need to get back to the Enterprise and all will be well. I don't know why they thought that, but that's what they thought. And then when they finally find the Enterprise is frozen, and it looks like it's in a life or death battle with a Romulan ship that's also frozen. So they're like, okay, we have to figure out how to get to the Enterprise through all these gigantic time bubbles, because this is where the time crack happened. We have to get to the bottom of this mystery. Why is everything frozen? Why are they in a battle? How can we save our friends? When they get on board, they see that the ship, the Enterprise, is in the middle of a core breach, like in that moment. So they're like, oh my gosh, if we somehow unpause time, the ship might explode because it's already in the process of exploding. And it's just such a good episode.
It's kind of like a mystery, like a whodunit type of thing.
Yes. It's very much a whodunit, because you think as they're seeing different vignettes, different scenes throughout the Enterprise, they're like, oh my gosh, the Romulans attacked the Enterprise and they're trying to kill everybody and all of these things. But when they restore the timeline, it turns out their concept was totally wrong. That the Romulans needed help, the Enterprise was trying to help them. All the times where it looked like they were attacking each other, other things were going on. So it's a really cool like whodunit where it makes you think one thing, but it's a totally different thing, which is really hard for TV to do, really hard for episodes to do, and really hard for something that can be as formulaic as a Star Trek, which is episodic, for them to actually trick us, for us to not know what's going to happen. It was pretty impressive.
Yes, it was a neat episode. They opened the episode, Riker was in sick bay, and I guess he was getting treatment because he got scratched by Spot, Data's cat. And so at the end of the episode, he goes in to see Data, and he's like looking around for the cat because he's scared of the cat.
And who could blame him? Spot was something else.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because Data was in there. He was trying to understand how humans experience the passage of time in different ways.
Let's see how long it takes a pot to boil.
Yeah, how long does it take a pot to boil? And yeah, so anyway.
Interesting on this episode. Do you know who the director was?
No.
Was it Adam Nimoy?
It was Adam Nimoy.
Oh,
One of the
nice.
2 episodes he did for TNG.
Was this one of your trivia questions? Did we ruin it?
No, he answered it.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
Adam
he's
Nimoy.
the quiz master. So
Yeah, that's why I'm like, was this one of your
He just
questions you were
threw
going to
that
ask
in
later?
there.
Okay.
I just took a wild guess. I heard he did some directing of TNG.
Yeah.
You want to ask some more trivia?
I'll throw one more. They use a term that we hear on Doctor Who as well. What term did they use in this episode?
I'm not a Doctor Who person.
Me neither. I'm sorry about that.
Charisse, are you a Doctor Who person?
I am a Doctor Who person. The only thing that comes to mind is timey-wimey, and they didn't say that.
No. They said
I don't know.
affected
What
the
was it?
space. They said affected the space-time continuum.
Is that a phrase
Oh.
that's just
That's
mostly
that's
spoken
a
in
Who
Doctor
phrase
Who?
also, but they use it on
that's
Star
not
Trek.
just a science term?
It's a science term, but
Okay.
you hear it a lot in
Oh,
Doctor
okay.
Who and Star Trek as well.
Okay. So we also wanted to talk about Season 5, Episode 24, The Next Phase.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one that, this is my note, Snarky Bajoran Ensign Rowe.
She has so many more titles.
She was so snarky in that episode.
Oh, I love it.
And there's a transporter accident, of course. And so the people who were in the transporter phased into a different reality or something, right?
Geordi and Ro they're on board a Romulan ship again, and they're transporting the core over to the Enterprise to get fixed. And when they have a transporter incident and they're knocked out of phase, and the Enterprise crew thinks they're dead.
Yeah.
And they're having to, Data's trying to sit there and realize there are baryon issues that he's having to fix, and that's how they try to recover the 2 of them back.
Gotcha.
But Ro thinks she's dead. Geordi thinks that she's...
Like we're dead, Geordi. Welcome
Jordy's
to the
like,
afterlife.
yeah, Jordy's like,
Exactly.
you're
Gonna
gonna
haunt
figure
the
this out.
Enterprise.
That's exactly
And
what
Jordy's
Rose
like,
says.
what? I'm a blind ghost with clothing?
Exactly. Ro was like,
Yeah.
obviously, no one can see us or hear us. We're ghosts. And Jordy's like, you can keep that philosophy. I'm gonna figure this out. Because exactly, I'm a blind
Yeah.
ghost with clothes. That doesn't make any
Science.
sense.
Because science.
So all of that sciencey stuff is super interesting. But one of the reasons why I love this episode is because of the scene. Data going around asking everybody about their different burial rituals or grieving rituals because he wants to have a funeral for Geordi. Geordi being his first friend. And he's talking to Worf at one point in a shuttle when they're going back and forth between the Romulan ship and the Enterprise because they just transporters are too dangerous because we lost 2 crew. We can only shuttle. So they're in the shuttle. And he's talking to Worf about really honor Geordi, you know? And Worf just like, Klingon's death is a celebration. So I don't know, I would just celebrate. I'm not the right one to ask. But the way Data describes Geordi and his friendship, and he accepted him and never treated him as a robot, always treated him as a person, it's always touched me since I was a little kid. That's the kind of friend I want to be. And I just love that scene. I think it's beautiful. I love their friendship. It's like a bromance for the ages. I love the Geordi Data just connection, because whenever Data is confused or has questions and doesn't understand humanity, Geordi's just there to explain it. He's judging him to make him feel weird about it. Just like, I'll answer your questions. And I feel like that's what friendship is, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. So while they are out of phase, they're able to pass through bulkheads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ensign Ro is at the celebration of life, and she's mad that they're having a party that she's dead. It's like,
yeah, she
walks
took it
up
the
to
opposite of
Riker and
Geordi.
says something mean and like tries to shoot him with the phaser, but it goes through him because she's phased out. And then when they come back, like Riker puts his arm around her and she's all smiles and you're like, girl, you just like shot him in the face.
She shot him because they were in the Riker was talking to Picard and was like, I want to say words about Ro at the funeral or whatever. And Ro was standing there kind of as a phased ghost saying, what's he going to say? And she didn't find out. So now when she comes back to life, she goes, I'll never find out. That's why she was so upset, because I'm never going to hear what he was going to say about me.
Yeah.
So funny. Like,
she was paranoid. Like, who cares? Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't anything bad.
Yeah, of course not.
Well, okay, so here's trivia for an interesting thought.
Okay.
Michelle Forbes, which was Ensign Ro, was offered what future part that she refused?
She was offered of the Bajoran in Deep Space Nine, whose name I'm blanking on.
Yes, she was. She was what became
Major
Kira Nerys. That was originally going to be her.
Which
You
would
know, I
have
didn't
made
realize until she married a Star Trek actor, Kira Nerys. I mean, a visitor. Didn't she marry Dr.
Alexander?
Bashir?
Yeah. I don't know if they're still together, but she married him.
Did you know that? Or you're not a Deep Space Nine
I
person?
didn't know that.
Yeah, I just saw a picture of them on Instagram or something. You got
Yep.
another trivia?
One thing also just interesting in this one. This was originally supposed to be a bottle episode.
A what episode?
Bottle show. Just a mini episode and inexpensive. Wound up being the most expensive episode of the season.
Was this
What,
one?
the one we were just talking about?
Next phase was
Timescape?
no. Next phase was the most expensive episode that season.
Probably for all the special effects, but I have to
All
say,
the special effects and everything.
it was worth it. Such a good episode.
Yes.
Like, so good.
Right on. So we also wanted to talk about season 7, episode 12, Pegasus.
Yes.
Or what was next?
Yes,
the one
Pegasus.
With, okay, Pegasus. It's Captain Picard Day. That's it.
Picard Day, which comes back in episode 1, season 1 of Picard, and I loved it. I was just like,
Yeah.
Captain Picard Day. I did love that. Totally love that. So, yes, in the Pegasus, we have Riker's old captain coming aboard because of some super secret mission that the Enterprise is on, and they need to go find the ship, the Pegasus. And so there's something fishy going on because this guy, who I think is an admiral now or something, because he pulls rank on Picard, so he must be something higher. But he has these secret conversations with Riker, and Riker's not allowed to tell Picard anything. Not to tell him what's going on, not to tell him what happened originally on the Pegasus, why they're looking for the Pegasus now when it was thought to be lost all those years ago. And it causes so much strife and division between the two of them, which is interesting tension. We always see her and Picard together. They are just like a team. And then see them not being able to be on the same page, it's really difficult, and that's what makes it so interesting to watch. Anyways, come to find out that the Pegasus was experimenting with cloaking technology, which is illegal according to some treaty. That was the big secret. And the Romulans are trying to get the ship first so that they can prove that I don't know if they're trying to get it because the technology school because they can already cloak, or if they just want to prove that the Federation is up to some shady business. But they're trying to get to the ship, and this admiral is also trying to get to the ship. The Enterprise finds first half phased inside of an asteroid. So the Romulan ship blasts the opening hole and traps the Enterprise inside the asteroid. And so the only way for them to get out is to use the illegal technology, the illegal cloaking technology, which actually is somehow freezing technology that freezes them kind of through the asteroid. And everything comes to light. And that guy gets court-martialed, and I suppose Riker does too, because Picard says he's going to have to answer some questions, but we really find out what happens, and it looks like nothing happens. Like, it looks like there's no consequences of this. But it's just a really good episode. It's a mystery and intrigue, cool technology, interesting character tension. It's a really good watch.
Yeah. Well, that's why we love Star Trek, because there's so many great episodes.
Okay, since she mentioned couldn't think of it for you two.
What
treaty were they breaking by having that cloaking device?
Was it the Treaty of Sharon? Algeron?
Algeron.
I thought it was one of those two words. I wasn't sure which.
I have a trivia question for you. Is Sharon a thing? That is, right?
I think so.
He's a character. That's from Voyage. That's from Enterprise.
Ah, okay.
Is Sharon. I was surprised. I was scratching my head thinking, how'd they figure out the date for the episode? I looked in my notes and found out that this episode started on Stardate 47457.1, which is June 16th. And that is how we get Picard Day on June 16th, which we now occasionally celebrate. But also interesting, another one. Who directed this one?
Jonathan Frakes.
It's not a Frakes.
Is it someone from the cast?
Someone.
LeVar Burton?
It is LeVar Burton. This is one of the 2 episodes he directed. And ironically, both episodes that he directed were Frakes and centered around Jonathan Frakes.
What was the other one?
The other one was Second Chances.
Ah.
He didn't direct the episode when Ben Vereen came in the show? I thought he did.
Okay, this is one definitely for our guest. Back in Timescape, what happened in Timescape that also happened in Pegasus? Because you mentioned it already.
Do you mean the phasing?
What happened to Riker in that episode?
In Timescape.
In Pegasus.
In Pegasus.
We talked about what happened to him in Timescape. What else happened to him in Pegasus?
That was the one with the fractured.
He was back in medical
He
again.
heard himself saying, what's that? Parisi Square? Parisi?
Nope.
Was he doing something with the bat lift?
He was doing something with the bat lift with Worf.
He was doing Worf's calisthenic program or something like that. He like pulled a muscle or something, and he was like beating himself up, and he was telling Beverly, "I'm so stupid. How could I do this? What's wrong with me?" And she was like, "Oh, it's just a pulled muscle." He got freaked out because what's his face was on. What was that guy's name? I don't remember his name. The admiral. Whatever his name was, he was on board.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I don't know either.
Admiral.
It'll come to me.
Okay.
I wake up in the middle
No,
of the night.
the only notes I have for that is Captain Picard Day, Student Art Exhibit, Starship Crazy Horse Rendezvous. That's all I got.
Now, what future episode is tied into Pegasus?
No, I don't know that one.
Can I have more context? What future episode is tied into
What
Pegasus?
future episode? What other series episode ties into Pegasus?
Yeah, I have no idea.
These are the voyages. The final episode of Enterprise. If you've seen that episode when Picard and Troy are sitting there debating,
Oh my
he's
God,
debating
yes.
about Pegasus and whether he should tell Picard about the ship.
That's right. Because there was that issue that fans didn't like. Riker brought all of them back in the holodeck.
Mm-hmm. He was
And-
contemplating trying to tell Picard about the Pegasus and the truth.
Interesting. Okay, one more question.
We see a cloaking device. Where else have we seen this cloaking device before?
What, the cloaking device on the Romulan?
The cloaking device they take off the Pegasus. Where have we
Oh.
seen that before?
In the Federation?
I didn't finish this episode. Sorry. I've seen everything, but sometimes I forget stuff because I don't watch it regularly.
No judgment.
Does that make sense?
Was it in one of the
Like, I
other
gotta
episodes?
rewatch stuff to remember all these details.
The only reason
That
I know
Happened
is
in the
because of podcast.
past.
In the original series? When Captain Kirk had to steal the cloaking device? Was
Yep.
that where we...
Enterprise incident when he stole the cloaking device from the Romulans. This is the second time we've seen that device.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for coming and being our quiz master today.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. And Charisse, thank you so much for joining our podcast today. We need to connect in LA or Vegas. You're super cool, and I had a lot of fun chatting today. Thank you, Anthony, for last minute coming with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you again for inviting me.
Aaron, can we show my flyer one last time with the QR codes?
Which one is that one?
That one right there. Okay, so this week in Las Vegas, I will be doing a meet and greet at the Star Trek convention at the Rio from 12 to 2 at the USS Las Vegas booth in the vendor's room. Saturday night, we're doing a Trek trivia party over at Tommy Rockers. Then our next podcast is going to be, of course, the last Sunday of the month, August 25th at 4 p.m. And next year, 2025, Alien Prom. So buy your tickets. Buy your tickets ASAP. Yeah. And we'll see you next year. So anyway, thanks everybody. I'll see you at Con.